So what was your sun exposure?
God, this is going back years now.
How old were you when you were doing that?
Probably about up to about 13, 14.
So 13 to 14, so you're a skin type 2, so you burn easily.
I burn easily.
And what were you doing? You putting olive oil and vinegar on or something like that, were you?
I don't know really, it's my parents, so I think it was like the Ambre Solaire, the old Ambre Solaire that you used to
But you'd go quite red?
Yes.
And you never tanned?
Eventually I tanned, but it would be very light.
Yes, okay.
And it would take quite a bit of burning to get there.
Yes, so, alright. Burning, i.e. damage.
Yeah.
If your skin is dry though, potentially the barrier, which is the protective layer of the skin, is not as protective as it should be. Right. So it will potentially allow things in, but it's also letting water out. Okay. So that sometimes adds to the dryness as well. Okay. So we can kind of, and maybe that's why when you go for your anti-aging, your elements, it feels wonderful after because they've put a film of oil on your skin. Do you suffer from any pigmentation that you can see? You know, things like liver spots, any facial broken veins? So you've got some.
And I've got broken veins around
So you've got some brown marks.
Yeah. And
you've also got some redness as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And have they come about recently? 5 years, 10 years? What?
The last 5 years, I'd say.
Okay. All right. So, what about lines and wrinkles?
I've started noticing they are coming on now a lot more.
Right. Have you noticed that maybe your eyebrow shape has changed, your cheeks aren't as full as they were before?
Yeah, and sagging.
Yeah, okay, so you've noticed things starting to drop a little bit there as well. All right. Because what we try to create really is actually a sense of being more youthful, and the things that you've described here are all part of the ageing process. You know, that doesn't just affect the face, it goes on to the neck and décolletage and the hands, the areas that are really exposed. And the signs of ageing, although you suggested that really you had a lot of sun exposure at the age of 13 to 14, and you knew you were burning yourself, but you wanted to get brown, it will have taken that long for some of these things to come out. So the brown marks, that's why when people have skin cancers, you very rarely get young people with skin cancers, although having said that, sunbeds can cause it, but it takes a long time. But the damage is done way back then when you were younger. Yes, menopause is notorious for changing the way that the skin is. Things like your fat, when it's here, holds up and is almost like the foundation for the lower part of the face. So if you were fuller in your cheeks, as the fat migrates out, and that's unfortunately what happens, it pulls with it the tissue and it ends up around the jawline. So one develops those jowls. So it's the fat that should be here really. And of course this area then becomes a little heavier and things start to change. If you've had, women lose bone anyway, but if you've had any teeth removed at the back, that starts to change the shape of the face. The muscle on the forehead will actually drop a little and that changes the shape of the eyebrow. And of course that can be just subtle, but it could be that you find that your lid is touching your eyelashes where it never used to before. I can't see that, but that's the kind of general thing that happens sometimes to people. And it almost like all comes together. So you've been saying that in the last year, some people would be more critical and see that because it really starts to happen around the age of 40 onwards. That's the kind of times when people say that you start to deteriorate. Unfortunately, it happens to us all. So when you are looking for a peel, what are you wanting it to do?
To give me more of an even tone to the skin.
Yep. Okay.
And basically try to be a more youthful look.
Okay. And
you miss that. When you're younger, there's a glow about your skin, isn't there? And I think as you get older, that seems to disappear.
Yeah,
so it would be quite nice to have that sort of youthful glow.
Okay.
You know.
So as we age, obviously, the cells that keep us nice and young turn over at a steady rate, and if new cells are coming to the surface, old cells fall off. As we age, that process slows down, and so not only does the dermis, which is a living part of the skin and is nice and bouncy when we're young, start to deteriorate and in fact become it doesn't do its job properly. the cells then slow down. So where you were used to this luminous kind of look and it was always fresh, the skin becomes thicker, and so everything slows down. The dermis itself produces collagen, and there's a substance called hyaluronic acid which keeps the skin nice and plump because it feeds the fibroblasts that make collagen. With age, all of those functions deteriorate, so lines and wrinkles start to appear, and although the skin is thicker, you can start to see the redness and the browns because the skin takes on this transparent kind of look as well.
Right.
And the browns and the reds become permanent. You know, the veins don't work as well as they did, and so it will be there constantly. Now, when you peel the skin, you can it will look fresher, there's no doubt. But some of the red veins that might have been just underneath the surface and you weren't seeing all the time may come to the surface. Also, brown marks may be uncovered as well. How much time do you have off work? Have you got no time at all? Are you in the public eye? Can you have any time? I'm just trying to think about
now on
peels.
Thursday.
Okay.
So.
And then you've got the weekend off.
And then I'm in Thursday, Friday, and then I'm off the weekend.
Okay.
And then I've got 2 weeks in, and then I'm off for a week anyway. So.
Right. Okay. Right. So I'm just considering the kind of peel that I'd like to give you. Now, the peel that I'm considering doesn't necessarily have to overtly peel you, because it works in a different way. And so we don't have to have any surface trauma to get some kind of result.
Right.
It passes through the dry part of the skin, and it's really going down towards the dermis. And when there's moisture, when it locates that, it actually releases the actual peel. And in that way, the peel is much more targeted. You'll get a plumping of the dermis much more quickly, and the skin that comes off is very subtle. You don't notice it, but it actually happens over a period of a week as opposed to 10 days of real peeling. Skin might feel a little dry, or you might feel that there's skin rolling,
right.
A little rough. But what people do report is that the skin feels better, it looks better, it looks plumper, and you describe that kind of, dull look. It looks much more brighter as well.
When you get older, I think not only is it dull, it looks greyish, doesn't it?
Because of that thickening,
Yeah.
and of course the blood supply isn't going to be able to work as well because everything in the dermis isn't working. So, everything you've described is actually there. Right. It's not only happening to you, so, and of course if you come out of a long winter with, air conditioning and all of that, then when you come up to the summer, you haven't prepared yourself, and so, the sun isn't the greatest thing for us, but it does make us feel better about things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So the only kind of warning that you have to think about is you need to wear some sunblock after the treatment. Do you wear sunblock on a daily basis?
I wear most makeup has got
some sort of 15?
Yes.
Alright, so my suggestion would be that you actually use a 30 SPF from now onwards, because it does actually have an anti-aging property.
Okay.
So it will actually protect and also start to reverse some of that, those signs of aging.
Okay.
That's been clinically proven. And you need to just keep applying moisture during this peeling phase.
Okay.
That's all you need to consider. And it would be good to see you in a couple of weeks just to see how that felt for you, because I wouldn't want to leave you with a few more brown spots, or you've actually had redness exposed without supporting you on that.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine, no problem.
Okay.